Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here. So let me share my screen. So yeah, hello, welcome. So yes, so we're going to talk about MusicTribe's platform journey. So this is something that me and Mustafa have been heavily involved in over the past few years, and we're just going to talk about our experiences. So yeah, session outline, we'll do some introductions, and then we'll do why did we embark on this journey. Then we'll talk about what did we build, what's the platform, and then we'll talk about how, and then we've got some lessons learned and what's next, and then Q&A. So introductions. Hello, I'm Alex, platform engineering manager here at MusicTribe. I've been at the company for about 12 years now and had a varied career, currently focusing on building state-of-the-art cloud platforms, but previously played a key role in developing a number of award-winning digital audio mixing consoles for the Midas brand.
Hello everyone, I'm Mustapha Zegaoula. Thanks to Humanitech for inviting us today to give our first talk about platform engineering, and thanks to you guys for attending. I'm currently a platform engineer at MusicTribe. I'm also from a DevOps software and site reliability engineering background. Prior to joining MusicTribe, I was a DevOps and SRE for a company within the music business. I am as obsessed with modular synthesizers and building my own as I am with cloud technologies and improving processes. So I guess MusicTribe is the perfect fit for me. At MusicTribe, we believe that there is a musician in every human being, and that it is our purpose to make music accessible to everyone and empower you to become the most creative you can be. The organization has been built on the solid basis of Behringer brand. Our CEO, Uli Behringer, then acquired other well-known audio brands like Midas, Clark Technic, Tannoy, and Labrucken, to name a few, ultimately transforming into what it is called MusicTribe today.
So yeah, why did we embark on this journey to the cloud? So yeah, as you heard, we are a global organization with a number of brands all making audio products. Most, if not all, of these brands want cloud-enabled products to bring all the benefits of the cloud to their users. So as a business, we decided to start developing a shared brand-agnostic cloud platform. Another factor here is that as a company, we're going through a digital transformation. And in 2019, we started migrating services to Microsoft. So primarily, MusicTribe is a hardware and manufacturing company, and this gave us some unique challenges. 12 brands across the globe with differing practices and diverse cultures, each at a different stage in digital transformation and cloud journey. We needed to identify the common problems and understand the brand's requirements. We wanted to provide some unity and standardization, reduce any technical debt, enforce governance, and use best practices. As a company, we wanted to grow towards being data-driven, and so we wanted to provide analytics on our services in order to make better decisions.
As a way to solve these challenges, we wanted to start by tackling the known pitfalls of large-scale organizations, such as technical debt and isolated teams. The organization had also embarked on a digital transformation, so we wanted to also take it onto a journey to the cloud whilst keeping in mind DevOps best practices and principles. We wanted to start automating all our application deployments and tests, and also the infrastructure on which these applications run. We wanted to provide a unified experience so that all developers can go through the same processes, so that our future improvements benefit the whole rather than the few. We also wanted to start focusing on collecting data from our platform tooling and working with teams to improve them.
So what did we build? What is our platform? So we've broken this down into 4 sections, and we'll cover each shortly. The sections we'll cover are the actual cloud platform. We've got CI/CD and tooling. We've got observability, and finally we have the developer portal. So I'll touch on the cloud platform now. So this cloud platform provides APIs and services for the brands to integrate with. The platform is built with governance, security, and scalability in mind. It is a microservices architecture fronted by an API gateway connecting to databases, storage, and other resources. I'll give an example of some of the services and APIs that we provide. So we have an identity provider, giving the brands a unified user experience and central shared directory. We have a preset service. So this is a generic service brands can leverage to store and manipulate settings. For example, a digital mixer user can create presets for equalizers or effects, etc., from an app while sitting in their hotel room that is then stored to the cloud and then recalled when they get to the physical mixing console later. Presets can be shared and sent to collaborators with a click of a button. Another example here on this slide is the firmware service. So this is used to store firmware updates so that devices can upgrade over the air, or brand websites can connect to retrieve the firmware available for each product. We also have some support services. One of these services can provide a secure remote reverse connection to certain devices so that support engineers can gain access to the device remotely for troubleshooting. It could also be used in training and education, where the support engineer can control the GUI and show the user a certain task, and other use cases. So as part of building out this platform, we worked closely with the cloud team to ensure they could deliver the features in a fast and reliable way. We repeatedly iterated on reducing the deployment time and increasing the confidence of the deployments by building a robust CI/CD solution. We worked on adding useful fail-fast feedback from each pipeline run to show test coverage, results from static analysis, integration, end-to-end, and load testing. We worked on templates to publish the latest documentation and API specs directly to the developer portal. We also work with the clients to create CLI tooling and templates, for example, so that they could publish their firmware to the firmware service from their own CI/CD pipelines.
Observability is a very wide topic. For us, it is about our own customer, the engineering teams themselves, their customers, and the proper functioning of their applications. We needed the engineers to have fast access to what matters to them and be able to instrument their application quickly so that they capture what matters to their stakeholders. We also integrated with visualization tools and automated the deployment of graph dashboards. Prior to measuring any type of data, we go through a process of assessing what we are about to measure and how or if it brings any value to our customers and the business. We knew that these were the basis on which we wanted to build our observability platform. This also came with having to enable each team. They needed to get familiar with these tools. So we started running sharing knowledge sessions.
So yeah, the final major piece to our platform is the developer portal. So we took Backstage for a spin, as it provides a number of features we felt solve some of our problems. And we'll go into how in more detail on this later.
So how did Alex and I become the team that we are today? We faced similar challenges in our daily work, and we are both DevOps enthusiasts, obsessed by enabling other engineers to do their job better and making things easier for them. It was easy because we used similar technology stacks. We also liked to learn from each other and others, no matter the background. In fact, the synergy happened naturally. As you can see in there. Due to our continuous desire for DevOps improvements, or DevOps process improvements, we started collecting data about our sprints, which became crucial at making big shifts in the way we do work. We eventually dropped task estimations as it didn't work for us. And because we were rarely able to get it right, we decided to approach our platform tasks as stories. We now do write short user stories, defining who we are doing it for, what we are doing, and the benefit that it brings. We then attach tasks to each of the stories and start tackling them once we are happy that the pieces of work are achievable and small enough. We also decided to run our dailies every other day because, as you notice, we are a small team, and we do encourage and promote pairing within the wider team rather than working in isolation. So that means that our daily interactions are constant.
So yeah, another example of process improvement we did was changing how we release software. So we worked with the cloud team on deploying their services and found they were frustrated with how long it took to get something into production. They were following the Git flow approach due to historical reasons of working with the Midas team developing the HD96 mixing console, where it makes sense for that team to use Git flow. We found that the extra branches Git flow requires, cutting a release at a determined point, and some errors that cropped up by accidentally creating a PR to the wrong branch, develop or main, slowed down the process and didn't bring any benefits. As a cloud team, they just wanted to push code to main and see it in production. After some retros, some discussions, and a POC, we changed the process to use GitHub Flow, which is much simpler, much less error prone, and much faster. So for the developer portal, being a global organization spread across different time zones, we wanted developers to self-serve as much as possible. Backstage provides a component called Tech Docs and fosters the docs as code paradigm. We have a mix of good documentation and non-existent documentation in the company. Some of the products we make are complicated, and looking at code is not always the best way to understand a system. We wanted to encourage knowledge sharing in an async fashion to help speed up development. Backstage also provides an area to view open API specs. From here, users can even try out the API calls. Along with the docs and example applications, users of our API should be able to create a POC relatively easily without too much involvement from the cloud team, which is very small. Another feature of Backstage is a catalog of entities and their relationships and dependencies to each other. So as a company with a huge amount of IP from all the different brands that have been bought out, there was a growing need for the business and engineers to understand what problems had already been solved. We needed a catalog and tagging mechanism. Standardization, where it made sense, was something the business wanted. Could we standardize tool chains, licenses, hardware, and perhaps even programming languages? And finally, Backstage provides templates. With a click of a button, you can deploy a new project with all the boilerplate code and best practices built in, so you can start working on the main point of the new project straight away. This can massively improve time to market of a new service, for example.
We use infrastructure as code to manage our applications and platforms. We heavily rely on HashiCorp's Terraform. It helps us better follow and keep up with best DevOps practices. It also improved our confidence in securely deploying platforms at scale. Due to the nature of the MusicTribe organization, we needed an easy way to be able to control access to apps and resources. So we adopted Azure landing zones and the cloud adoption framework. We use most of Microsoft's SCAF modules to help us manage the organization's cloud infrastructure, though we had a few occurrences where we could not rely on these modules and had to provide our own because of delayed Terraform feature releases and provider updates. We widely use Kubernetes for all its advantages and benefits of orchestration, portability, and testability. Engineers from other teams can contribute to bring more features to their own clusters, which in return will eventually be adopted by other teams. We use Traffic as our API gateway and ingress, and Founder as our application gateway and traffic manager. For monitoring and observability, we do use Prometheus and OpenTelemetry to collect logs, metrics, and traces. We have set up Grafana Cloud as our favorite monitoring and observability visualization tool. We configure and deploy Grafana agents in code, helping us to keep up with upgrades and new features so we can take full advantage of the platform. We also have built custom, as Alex mentioned earlier, we've built custom command line tools using Golang or Python, such as firmware command line tool, enabling engineers to fit the release of firmware within their own pipelines. And for CI/CD pipeline, we have created and are maintaining a number of Azure pipeline templates so that engineers can easily incorporate specific steps, jobs, and stages into their own templates. Our focus is not to do the work for the engineer teams, but to make the engineers feel a sense of ownership over their own releases. Obviously, we always remain available if anything requires our attention or assistance.
So yeah, we worked extensively on automation to reduce toil and increase confidence. We managed to reduce the build time of our microservices for our CI/CD pipelines. Initially, we built a service using a multi-stage Docker build. The base layer for this was the same image that the devs used as a dev container. And we did this because we wanted consistency between how the devs were building locally and the CI system. However, this took some time. The build agent would come online, pull the dev container image, then run the multi-stage build. For the validation stage of that, it would pull the dev container image and run all the validation tests it needed inside the dev container. These dev container images were large. They had a bunch of dev tools in there to encourage the shift left strategy. So we decided to cache these images on a self-hosted build agent to speed up the time it took pulling the image from the registry every time. This helped speed up the validation stage, and further improvements required efforts on each validation test that was being run. We made further improvements to the build of the application, to the build of the production image by building the Golang services natively on the Microsoft hosted agent and not in the dev container, and then just copying that into a tiny production-ready Docker image. Our concerns about consistency with local builds seemed perhaps unreasonable due to the way Golang compiles its binaries. We weren't using CGO or linking to any system libraries, for example. We started playing with K6. So this is a great tool designed for load testing. As a platform team, we introduced this tool, but the cloud team ran with it and developed a bunch of tests for our APIs. Not only did this provide us with load tests, but now we also have end-to-end tests. Incorporating the end-to-end tests in our pipelines, we ensured no version that failed these would progress to the next environment, increasing confidence in our stakeholders. As you heard, we were using Grafana Cloud for our observability. Grafana recently acquired K6, and we integrated our tests there so we could visualize the results easily. Grafana also comes with a synthetic monitoring plugin. We set up checks to continually test our APIs from locations around the world. And this gave us metrics on latency, reachability, and availability. And finally, we tried to ensure we did TDD when writing our infrastructure code and used a package called TerraTest from Gruntwork. This enabled us to create robust Terraform modules and ensure we didn't introduce any regression each change. We used a variety of static analysis tools such as TFSec, Checkoff, and TFLint to inspect our Terraform code to highlight any security or misconfiguration issues.
As you can imagine, we've learned many lessons from embarking on this journey. Collaboration and communication are key to build trust with stakeholders, including them in decision-making and the process, increase their confidence. Confidence in the tools they use, confidence in their releases, and generally confidence in our team, so that they can become more independent teams owning their own release processes. We learned that the earlier we automated our infrastructure, the earliest we picked on potential issues such as connectivity and networking, but it also helped us optimizing builds and deployment early. We initially only relied on Microsoft Azure online tutorials and documentation. We then started using their advisory and recommendation services, and ultimately got support from the Azure Fast Track team, which gives the benefit of collaborating with Azure engineers to deploy Azure solutions. For us specifically, it provided validation to our design as well as expertise. In an organization as wide as MusicTribe, the engineering teams are various in size and discipline. So we quickly learned that it was for us to adapt rather than the other way around.
So what's next? Well, yeah, our journey feels like it has just begun, really. We want to continue collaborating with the engineering teams and see how we can help improvement. We want to allow developers and product owners to become more data-driven by collecting more of the right telemetry and displaying the information in an effective way. Specifically for developers, we want to collect custom application metrics from their services so they can optimize their components. We've also at times struggled with collecting and understanding requirements and feedback, and we want to improve on this, making it easier for people to provide feedback and coming up with ways to streamline the requirements gathering and more. Questions?
Yeah, we have a question. Does MusicTribe own all the brands? Yes, it does. They do own all the brands, but all the brands have autonomy in this, making their own decision as well.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'll read out the questions.
Oh, you read out. Sorry, Maria.
Yeah, no worries. Where did your silent listener go, Mustafa? He disappeared. But yeah, the next question from Mike. Do you use cross-functional teams?
So yeah, we've got a mixture of different sort of teams in the business. Most of them are kind of, you know, streamlined kind of product teams, so they'll be working with the brand on specific products that, you know, normally associated with that brand. The cloud team and the platform team was a shared kind of service, you know, working across the brands. And yeah, we've got, you know, different disciplines of people in that team. We've got, you know, devs, we've got DevOps people, platform engineers. So yeah, I don't know if that fully answers that question.
And how big is your team of developers in platform? Platform, is it just you two or? Yes? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just us two at the moment. And we have a cloud team. I think there was 4 others or 5 others. So we're basically a team of 6 or 7 that have achieved this.
And then engineers, how many developers you have to support?
So yeah, so different brands have different number of engineers. Only some of those engineers will be working on the cloud side of stuff. Although saying that, we also worked with, you know, various teams on the pipelines and deployments for the non-cloud kind of products. I mean, yeah, I'm not too sure of actually what the size is. I mean, generally we've worked with, you know, with you know, meetings and teams with 5 or 6, again, you know, a manageable sort of number each time we've worked on each of these, you know, different projects or different pieces of this puzzle.
Correct. Another question from Kraus. Do you have any plans to support multi-cloud in the future?
I can answer this one if you like, Alex. Yeah, so actually, when I started at MusicTribe about a couple of years ago, one of my first tasks was to migrate from AWS to Azure. So that was quite a daunting task to tackle, especially I never had any experience with Azure. And in the meantime, while doing that, Alex and I, we realized that the way we were writing our configuration needed to be able to accommodate for multi-cloud at the same time. So the way we initiate our providers and run our pipelines can be React fitted with the multi-cloud very easily, or at least at the moment with Azure and AWS. We haven't tried yet to bring in more cloud providers, but we shouldn't have any problem using Terraform. We use Terraform for Kubernetes, Grafana Cloud. So we use a bunch of Terraform providers as well.
Yeah, I don't think we have major plans at this stage as well to do a multi-cloud. We're still, I guess, quite early on this journey as well, and I think you know, the benefits of multi-cloud versus, you know, the orchestration of managing that multi-cloud, we're probably not at that point of that journey yet, I don't think. But, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something we got off the table. Yeah, I mean, we had discussions in the past about using the best of the services of the cloud provider. It's all about how the organization want to move forward.
Yeah.
Cool. Another question. Do you have to manage any hybrid cloud platforms or services? I'm sure that's related a bit.
We've got a bunch of on-prem. We had a bunch of on-prem stuff. So this is kind of how I started my DevOps journey. So in the office a while ago, this is when I was working on the mixing console. We saw the need for sort of CI/CD, and we ended up getting some servers and managing an Atlassian stack there, and we were running that on OpenStack at the time, and then we changed it to VMware vSphere, and that was when we started managing some of this stuff with configuration tools like Puppet, a little bit of Terraform there. So yeah, that's kind of our experience of hybrid with the on-prem and Azure. But yeah, we've touched on before, we've moved and migrated everything what we had before from AWS to Azure, and we're fully on Azure now.
Cool. How did you make your selection decisions for products like Traffic versus Nginx or Terraform versus Pulumi?
Yeah, I can do that one. So we did in two different ways. So first, we audited Traffic, Kong, Nginx, and Azure Application Ingress Controller, which we had previously used. And based on all the benefits we could get from those tools, we decided to go with Traffic. For Terraform was a bit more straightforward because we both had a lot of experience with Terraform, though we exploring now ways of using Pulumi and ARM templates eventually to be able to manage our front door, which currently is being managed manually. So yeah, that's where we're at. So we're not taking off anything off the table, but we really audit based on our requirements, which tool is best for us.
Yeah, Pulumi is an interesting one. We've been thinking about that for a while and wondering what the use case of that would be. I mean, my personal opinion is Pulumi might be really interesting for kind of dynamically creating infrastructure, from maybe user input or something like that, rather than maybe kind of static modules. So I can maybe see that in a self-serve sort of way of having a developer ask for certain pieces of infrastructure, and then it can go and calculate various things from that maybe, and maybe that might be what Pulumi would be good for. But yeah, I'd be interested to see how people are using Pulumi, and what kind of use cases they're using it for.
You can always check it out and ask the question in the platform engineering Slack channel, Alex.
Yeah.
You should join. I really like the next question. What management sponsor do you have that provides budget and authority for a shared service like this platform you created?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, this was part when we started. Well, okay, so there's a bit of history here. So there was an initial cloud platform that got created for the Midas brand, and then a few years ago when we started on this new platform, we were running as part of like a shared research division. And so the idea here was that all the brands would get the benefit of the shared services by having a pool of research engineers. Recently that's changed. So recently we've gone back to kind of a more brand driven focus. So the brands are starting to have more autonomy and kind of deciding how they spend their money and their budget as well. So now we're actually now back part of Midas, and we're coming up with a solution to cross charge the various brands and sort of sell that as a service to some of the others. Yeah.
Cool. So you have like a dedicated budget for it, right?
Yeah.
And was it difficult to sell the idea of the platform to your management, or everyone just like at some point understood like we need something, you know, some standardization, enable developers to, you know, own some code when they deploy it, or how did it come together?
Yeah. It wasn't too difficult to sell the idea to the brands. I think the brands understood, you know, the benefit here. So particularly in terms of the cloud platform, but in terms of the kind of, you know, internal developer platform, I think various engineering teams, some of them saw the benefit, you know, and some didn't. And I think that might have been to do with their own kind of journey on this themselves. In terms of like, you know, selling the idea to management. So we had a great leader as part of the research division that kind of pushed some of these ideas to the senior management team, you know, and he had a good background in doing this sort of thing before. And so, yeah, that idea was you know, helped us to kind of sell that as well to different parts of the business.
Nice. And I think the next question is a good also overview, how you measure the success of the project and what's the definition of it, because I think that's also a good point when you sell the platform to your management, right? Like, how do you prove that return on investment?
Yeah, so again, another great question, and this is still kind of work in progress, I think, to some degree. So, you know, we've got buy-in from various brands. You know, some of these products that are using the cloud, you know, is a key selling point for their products. You know, they can give a lot of the benefits that the cloud provides, and really make the user's life easier with these products. So some of those kind of anecdotal, you know, definition of success is, I guess, yeah, fairly easy. The kind of cost side of it is something that we still need to drill down in a bit more. So we've kind of got to market quite fast with this, and there's probably some costs that we can cut, we can kind of improve on. And then the other side of that is, yeah, I guess kind of getting some more data on, you know, how it impacts the selling of certain products, you know, the customer base, number of customers using it, and whether that would be a, you know, a reason for them to buy the product. Yeah, so that one still needs a lot more data, I think, to kind of really see any trends on the cost side.
Yeah, I think I can add a little bit on that. We, like Alex said, we're still in the process, and we're still working on that. One part would be also to set all our SLAs and SLOs with the help of the business, so we know that what we are doing and what the service that we are providing satisfy the customer, their customer in it, essentially. So that would be a way to measure that our platform delivers for each brand, and it's very difficult because each brand might have their own level of satisfaction. So we'll have to adjust that and make sure that we deliver the same for everyone and the best that we can.
Kraus is on fire. I just want to point out once again, you guys have to move faster with questions because we have a lot to answer. How did you train DevOps for the new platform tools and services?
So is that related to training the staff, like, and then the colleagues on the platform? Yeah. So well, we work quite closely with them. So, you know, we would put in pairing sessions, we would put in kind of seminars. We did have a community of practice that we were running for a while that went through various different, you know, shapes and sizes. You know, we started posting a couple of videos. We didn't do a lot of those actually, but, you know, little kind of information videos to various people, just sort of, you know, publish it on our internal Microsoft Teams. And then there's also, we started kind of cataloging like a bunch of websites and web pages or learning articles. So Microsoft Learn have some interesting learning paths, and we kind of would mark on, yeah, anything that we thought were useful and other people could have a look at as well. And then, yeah, we also internally have, I think it's called Viva Learning, which is a learning tool that people can kind of self-learn, through that system.
Nice. Self-learning tool sounds as a cool experience for your DevOps engineers. Do you have a roadmap for next steps and releases for your platform engineering journey?
You're nodding your head, Mustafa. How do I say this?
The great thing about MusicTribe and our team, where we sit right now, we pretty much have full control of the journey, where we want to be, where we want to get, and how we get there. Our previous manager gave us that capacity from the beginning, and the head of Midas, the main brand for whom we do in works at the moment, is also giving us the rein to lead that journey, basically, and transformation, and take it to the next level each time. So yes, we would need to sit down the next few weeks, and as Alex explained in his last slide of what's next, we already have some plans, and we'll explore more for sure. Yeah. But we have no constraints. We can explore as much as we want, as long as we deliver, obviously, and the business is happy. That's where we are.
Yeah, you guys as well, right? You have to be mentally happy to deliver.
Us too, obviously. Yeah.
And that's why you go on vacation.
Exactly.
Have you considered using tools like Crossplane instead of Terraform, since you're on Kubernetes?
I've not come across Crossplane. I will, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
I will too.
Yeah, Alex, you have homework to do. Pulumi, Crossplane. So next time.
There we go.
Good.
Cool. Another question from Kraus. Do you have a lesson learned document for mistakes made or things you would do differently if you were to do it again?
I don't think we have an official document. We try and get together every time we've had issues. We try to get together and as a team, not just us two, but the wider team, and really figure out what went wrong. We always try to make sure it doesn't happen again. But yeah, we don't have like something where this is necessarily recorded. We've probably got some ad hoc notes here and there, but yeah, a lot of that has been just through conversations.
Yeah, we have also tried, and we're currently in the process of putting together an incident management process. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, to do that, we need the buy-in of more teams because there's stakeholders, and you need to build your incident management process, not just on the technical side of the business, but also the stakeholders and keeping them up to date, etc. So there's a great tool in Grafana Cloud to do that now. And then the plan is to use that eventually.
But is there one thing you can point out that you would do like completely differently than you approached this project, or what is that?
Yeah, you mean our journey? You mean, Maria?
Like I don't know, some decision that you took you wish you never took because that kind of messed up everything.
I'm trying to think of something like specific.
At the beginning, especially for me personally, at the beginning when I was new in the company, I would have liked to take a bit more my time into running or jumping into some already solutions, you know, and asking a bit more about them and considering all the options. Because that would have saved me a lot of rework. Obviously, I learned from that, so I had to rework and make sure that, you know, I'm doing things a better way, so I don't have to go back a few months or weeks later and fix things. So that's definitely the lesson. Take early stages to take more time at early stages. That would be my answer.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting answer. I mean, we did move to production quite fast, and I remember thinking, you know, have we given this enough time, you know, testing, and have we tested it enough? Which was quite scary at the time. But yeah, I guess.
What was the timeline? Just like to understand, like benchmark from your perspective. Like, was it a couple of months?
It was probably more like a year maybe. To get the full, we had like a couple of environments, you know, set up and a you know, pipeline to get through, and then production, and then by the time we think we got our first brands, you know, getting involved, they were probably I don't know, maybe a couple of months, you know, a couple month or two in staging, and then in production. Does that sound about right, Mustapha?
Yeah. We did it in sort of two batches. We started with Maedes, who were the prominent brand who used cloud, and we moved them first. And that took us a while because we had to include the migration from AWS as well. But that we learned from that, and as you said, Alex, I think what happened after that, we learned the lessons from it, and within 2 to 3 months, we had various environments and for the platform to run on, and we started to onboard more brands. Basically, we currently have how many brands, Alex? Maedes is on it, Labgruppen, and Beringer. So at least 3 actively using the platform.
Understood. Next question is about to start a fight in the Scrum cult, but do you use Scrum, and how do you scale it in your organization?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, so all the different teams across the organization work in their own way, which I guess has some pros and cons. So yeah, kind of sync it up. We did have a plan, and we've not succeeded, but we tried to sync, you know, the organization, or at least parts of the organization, to the same sort of cadence, you know, so we can kind of help collaborate a bit more. That's not quite worked out yet. But yeah, different teams also have kind of different practices. So some of these teams are working with hardware, and that it can make it a bit more tricky, you know, doing how we want to release software. So there's a really great YouTube channel called Continuous Delivery, that a lot of us in the team, you know, the cloud team as well, that got really interested in. I think a guy called Dave Farley maybe, and he has some very interesting kind of thoughts on this that I think a few of us kind of quite liked and aligned to, and it's something that we've been trying to go down to do, sort of maybe trunk-based, you know, development and continuous delivery. But yeah, I think there's a few pieces that we're missing before we can do that in a secure and reliable way.
I agree. No, the organization has the ambition to be fully agile, but it's a very tough task to tackle, because of how wide it is, and how many teams we have in different countries, etc., and getting them all to sync on a similar process to work won't work. Yeah, we need to take a case-by-case approach.
Yeah, and the next question also is about how distributed are your developers? Are you? I assume everyone is in different time zones, right? Like geographically wise, remote versus on-site. You're a remote company, no?
Yeah, we are. So a lot of the brands based in various countries. So we've got we've got teams all over Europe. We've got teams in the Philippines, and India and China, and we've got some teams in America as well. So collaboration could be interesting when we're collaborating with those time zones. But for our team, we're within an hour of each other, which I think helps to some degree. Although I'm a big fan of this kind of async kind of work, but yeah, I think there's something to be said about having a conversation with somebody, there and then. I think you can get a lot. You can get a lot.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think at the end of the day is to get in the other teams, even if they're on other different time zones, getting the buy-in to be able to review those processes and improving them or finding solutions so we can work better together.
Yeah, communication is absolutely key there. And it's like, how do we communicate effectively and efficiently?
We're talking with guys that if you don't play a musical instrument, you should not apply to MusicTribe. But that was the false assumption from me. You can definitely apply to work there. They don't require musical instrument as an obligatory. But next question, it seems that serverless is not a major part of your platform. What drove that decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we did well. So in AWS we were using AWS Lambda for a couple of services, and we still do use that equivalent in Azure with Azure Functions, but not so many. And it's something maybe that we are going to look at and figure out if it makes sense for some of these new APIs, new services that we're developing and using. Like an event-driven architecture is something that we've been looking at for a new service that we're kind of working on at the moment. Where we produce some of these serverless functions. Some of the stuff where latency is an issue. I don't think serverless in that sense might necessarily be a solution, but we don't have many services that are, require low latency at this stage either.
Cool, and I think that's a wrap. We are on time for our webinars. For our webinar, I think you guys felt how excited everyone is about your journey, given the fact how many questions you had. And please join Platform Engineering Slack. I'm sure that there will be more questions, and for everyone who attended or who was not able to attend, you can still ask questions in the Slack channel, and we'll send over the slides and this webinar replay tomorrow to everyone. Other than that, we just a quick note, we have another webinar on Thursday with Casper, who's gonna talk about reference architecture blueprints on Azure. So definitely recommend joining that talk as well, since we already covered reference architectures on AWS and GCP. This one's coming up on Azure, and it was a huge track during PlatformCon to be able to gather those platform blueprints and understand how other companies, structure their internal developer platforms. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much to MusicTribe's team. It's been a great story to tell. I'm sure there will be more things you can improve within your platform. So maybe we should schedule another talk with you once you have those improvements ready to share. Other than that, hope you have a nice end of the day, everyone, and see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great questions
Bye.
as well.
Yes.